Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S S, and we're here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, Season 4, the final season, Episode 15. And as we usually do, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to drop tonight's topics and pin it in the comments, as well as we're going to put our logo up. And for my folks that's coming in, all of those that's coming in, y'all let me know how y'all doing, how y'all feeling, and what's the word? Word, phrase, however you feeling, share it with us. What's the word in this final season? So let's get it, y'all. And as we're waiting, shouts out to those who will be watching this now, as well as who will be watching this later, whether on Instagram, YouTube, or any other social media platform. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and check out and subscribe to your boy at A.D.V.I.S.S Speaks. There's going to be a lot more to speak on and be seen on the channel. So go up there, get ready. Got some drops coming soon, from interviews to who knows, more information to come. So go ahead and subscribe to your boy at A.D.V.I.S.S Speaks on YouTube. And with that going on at the same time, in this episode, for episode 15, the topics are as follows. First, we're going to be getting into current events, which, again, keeping up to date with what is currently happening around locally as well as globally. Second, we're going to get into kill or be killed. Some mentality. We'll speak on it more as the topic comes up. And then lastly, we're going to talk about, does survival of the fittest apply in modern times? So does it even apply today? Or is it over and done? Again, we will find out as we get to the topic and as the conversation leads into that for later. But appreciate y'all on this ride. Like I said, it's the final season. We're getting so close. We have 2 more months. If I recall, December 27th will be the final episode. We'll have some fun on that final episode, have some treats and things to come and to happen. So please stay tuned and be ready. Bet y'all. As we got more people coming in, I'm going to finish this song right here. And then we're going to jump into the show song, which will be a real song coming soon, before the end, of course. And it'll be out, and you ain't got to hear me speaking it at all again. But with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into this show song. Some people like it, others don't, but I'm not here to get everybody. But I'm really here to tell y'all what's the word. So here it goes. What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? Tell them like, what's the word? What's the word? What you heard? We gotta know, yeah, what's the word? Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S S, and we are here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, Season 4, the final season, Episode 15. Again, I want to appreciate y'all for taking the time, whether if it's 5 seconds, 1 minute, 10 minutes, whole hour, whatever time that you come to be here in the streams. You could be anywhere else, but you're here, so I appreciate you being here, appreciate you participating, all those things. As well as shout outs to all those who's going to be watching this later as well. Check us out, leave comments, interact. Just know that this is out there for y'all. We building this. It's all for the community and community thought and building. So check it out. Appreciate your time. Now again, tonight's episode 15. First, we're going to go into the current events to stay on the up and up. What's happening? These from the news articles I have. If y'all have any you want to share, please put them in the comments, as well as speak on them as we are in this particular time. It'll take about 20 minutes or so. After those 20 minutes, we'll move on to the next topics, which the next topic will be kill or be killed. Speak lightly on that, or even speak more on it, I should say. And then after, we'll end tonight's episode with the last topic, which is the survival of the fittest apply in modern times. We'll see. We'll figure. But with that, y'all, hydrate. And let's get into these current events. So, for tonight, I got 5 articles. And then, of course, I will read some headlines from NPR. And we'll go about our way. So, first article I have comes from the New York Times. And the headline reads, more than 75,000 Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers begin strike. We got the writers and actors on strike. Now we got more healthcare workers on strike. Let's see what this is about. Every time we read, there's 3 paragraphs, and then we're out. So, article reads, more than 75,000 Kaiser Permanente health workers or healthcare workers begin a 3-day strike today. A job action that could cause delays for patients, especially in California, it's my Californians, in getting medical appointments, lab results, and prescriptions. After contract talks failed overnight, the walkout started with a small number of employees in Virginia and the District of Columbia, where they set up picket lines outside Kaiser's facilities. A majority of Kaiser employees are on strike in California, where the company is based. Something now that I know. Didn't even know that it was based mostly in California. And the workers were stationed outside hospitals and clinics on Wednesday. Some other work stoppages also began at Kaiser locations in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. Doctors and many nurses were not involved in the strike, but Kaiser officials warned that some non-urgent procedures might be postponed, some clinic hours might be reduced, and that waits on phone calls for assistance could be lengthy. So, I'm not going to keep going further with it, but again, I speak on a lot of the news that catches my eye when I look it up. So if you want to read more on this article comes from the New York Times, and the headline reads, more than 75,000 Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers begin strike. And it happened today. Again, we got some more updates really for the Californians in here. Again, if y'all are anywhere else in the world, please shout out what's going on, what's happening during the time. Because at the end of the day, we are not just a small bubble. We are a great globe. So, everybody and anywhere. So, the next article we have comes from My Burbank. And the headline reads, Governor signs, it says Portantino's historic gun safety bill regulating gun permits in California. So let's see what that's about. I'm going to read 2 of the paragraphs, and then I'm going to read the bullet points that are here. So let's go for it. Article reads, Senate Bill 2, authored by Senator Anthony J. Portantino, was signed by Governor Newsom. The law implements significant improvements to strengthen California's concealed gun permit law, commonly called CCWs. SB 2 is sponsored by Governor Newsom and Attorney General Bonta. Again, y'all call me and hear me mess these names up terribly. Both worked collaboratively with the senator to craft California's response to the recent Supreme Court ruling that made it easier for citizens to acquire CCW permits. I'm grateful for Governor Newsom's bold leadership on gun safety and thank him for signing SB 2, stated Senator Portantino. I was proud to partner with the governor, attorney general, and the amazing grassroots activists across California on this needed effort to strengthen our existing concealed permit laws and to ensure that Californians are made safer from gun violence. SB 2 is constitutional and consistent with the Supreme Court's guidance in the Bruin decision. When SB 2 is implemented, it will certainly increase public safety and I believe save lives. So that's the comments again from Governor Portantino. And shouts out to the Unity Project. Peace and one love. Appreciate y'all. We doing the news right now. More than welcome to stay, more than welcome to go. But I appreciate y'all popping in to say what's up. So the bullet points we got from this particular permit law and bill, it says specifically SB 2 strengthens state gun safety by ensuring those carrying firearms in public are responsible, law-abiding citizens who do not pose a threat to others or themselves. Protecting children and young adults from gun violence by setting a minimum age requirement of 21 years of age to obtain a CCW license. And then in addition, the other bullet points they have is to advance safety throughout stronger storages and training requirements on the proper handling, loading, unloading, and storage of firearms. Safeguard the public by identifying certain sensitive public places where guns may not be carried. And lastly, include due process protections to allow anyone denied a CCW license based on a finding that they are not qualified to carry firearms in public to a hearing before a superior court judge. So, in short, it's speaking on the Senate Bill 2, which, again, about regulating gun permits in California, which I didn't know much of. Now that I learned a bit more about it, but if y'all want to hear more about it, especially if you're in California, the article, you can look for it. It's on My Burbank, and the headline reads, Governor signs Portantino's historic gun safety bill regulating gun permits in California. But yeah, y'all. So I got 3 more for y'all, then we'll read some headlines. And again, if y'all have any news that y'all want to share, whether if it's good news from yourself, as well as news that's going on in the community, wherever that you have, news that you want to share, please put it down in the comments. I will greatly appreciate it. If not, if you're just chilling in here and wanting to listen to some updates on news, more than welcome. Come and go. Do as you do. All right. Next article that popped up. Again, it came to my attention when looking through these articles. This article comes from Daily Express US. Oh, they're trying to do some bars right now. Daily Express US. And the headline reads, Vladimir Putin gears Russia up for World War III with release of terrifying new plans. So there is still so much going on, of course, with Russia and Ukraine. Again, I don't know all the full details, but from this title, there is some very sensitive things that are being addressed. So let's go ahead and let's read into it again. I do 3 paragraphs and then we're out. Shouts out to everybody coming through. Smiley, peace and love. Good to see you in here, Barbara. Peace and love. All right. Article reads, Russian President Vladimir Putin appears to be preparing his country for armed conflicts involving nuclear powers. I did talk about an article last week, not last week, but the prior week, about nuclear warheads and things of that sort. So this is making a bit more sense. As he orders nationwide nuclear drills across the country. That's what it was. You're talking about those drills. Starting on Tuesday, sirens have been heard across Russia for 2 days. Interesting. Thank y'all. Peace and love to all y'all. Yes. TV broadcasts were also interrupted by the message, attention, everyone. There is a check of readiness of the warning systems to the population. Please remain calm. Which, I don't know, for y'all today who are here in Cali, there was a warning message that sent out on phones roughly around, it was like 11, maybe like 10:40 something ish. But it was sent out, and I'm not sure if this is in response to what's happening in Russia, but to check the systems. So that's what they're doing. As a part of the drills, children were reportedly shown how to put gas masks on, while some officials were sent to bunkers. Last one. The drills appear to stimulate the protocol that will be used in Russia should the country come under nuclear attack from a Western enemy. So again, all the guns blazing, getting ready for what could happen, could be, to just be prepared. But yes, again, I'm not going to continue to read the article. If you want to read more about what's going on, this article comes from Daily Express US, and the headline reads, Vladimir Putin gears Russia up for World War III with release of terrifyingly new plans. But yeah, again, a lot of the news has been popping up, at least on my feed, more geared towards California. Again, that's where I live. Y'all have any other news elsewhere, please share it. There is all love from everywhere we going, because we need to know what's going on, not only locally, but like I said, globally. So let's do it. So next article comes from A.D.V.I.S. and the article, the title reads, California workers will see more paid sick time off under new law. So for my folks too here, either Northern, Southern California, please, y'all have to start paying attention right now. There's so many bills, so many assembly bills that are being passed and being put on the table, especially because we were supposed to have a government shutdown. Well, I mean, that applies to everybody in the U.S. But with that government shutdown, a lot of these bills were going to also be put on pause. But I'm just letting you know now, there's so many of them that's coming out right now. I know there was the SB on 504, if I'm saying the number right. But there's a number of bills that are being passed right now. So if you do not know what's going on, please stay informed of what is going on. My folks in California. Right. Again, headline reads, California workers will see more paid sick time off under new law. So here we go. California workers will be entitled to 5 paid sick days, up from the current 3 days. So now we get 2 extra days under a new law signed by Governor Gavin Newsom today, on Wednesday, basically. The state's powerful labor unions lobbied heavily for the legislation, which stalled at the Capitol in previous years, but gained momentum after the COVID-19 pandemic cast new light on public health and the need for essential worker protections. Too many folks are still having to choose between skipping a day's pay, and taking care of themselves or their family members when they got sick. Newsom said in a written statement, we're making it known that the health and well-being of workers and families is of the utmost importance for California's future. Last one. Newsom's decision on labor laws have been under scrutiny amid ongoing worker strikes, as the unions that helped get him elected stave off a recall have criticized him for recent vetoes of legislation, including bills to give striking workers unemployment benefits and domestic workers OSHA protections. So up from 3, this is from 3, now we're up to 5 days. Look, I'm doing on my fingers, 5 days of paid sick days and more, not only benefits, but protections. But if you want to read more, article comes from LA Times, and the headline reads, California workers will see more paid sick time off under new law. Bam. And the last one, which I'm going to read the title, and I'm going to read one sentence in a paragraph, if that makes sense to y'all. But all right. This article comes from Science Alert, and the headline reads, "It's official. Scientists confirm what's inside of the moon." I'm not going to spoil too much if it's not here in the first sentence or the first paragraph. If you're going to find out, we'll see. Article reads, well, the verdict is in. The moon is not made of green cheese after all. Who even said it was made of green cheese? I want to know who is the person that was talking about it was made of green cheese or it looked like cheese or etc. A thorough investigation published back in May has found that the inner core of the moon is, in fact, a solid ball with a density similar to that of iron, an iron core. This researchers hope will help settle a long debate about whether the moon's inner heart is solid or molten and lead to a more accurate understanding of the moon's history and by extension that of the solar system. But yeah, so there is a solid ball which is similar to that of iron. So if y'all want to read more and learn more about the moon, article comes from Science Alert. Headline reads, "It's official. Scientists confirm what's inside the moon." There it is. And shouts out to That's Hip Hop. Peace and love. What's going on, brother and brothers? I hope all is well. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to What's the Word. Pop in. Let me know what's the word. How you doing? How you feeling? So, those are all the articles that I had for you. But again, I'm going to read some of the topics off the top from these articles. So if there's any ones that pop out to you again, you can go check out these articles from NPR.org. Again, NPR.org. I do not have a sponsor by them, but I'm just letting you know. You want to check them out, NPR.org. So, one headline on here speaks, or it says, fate of the House GOP leadership throws Congress into chaos. So much is going on there. More politics. Biden says he's worried about Ukraine aid. The Pentagon warns it's running low. Another one. Student activists are pushing back against big polluters, and they're winning. Another one. There it is. That's what I saw today. This is the one I saw today, y'all. It says that nationwide emergency alert test we told you about. It came a bit early for some. So yes, so they did a test. They test the emergency system. I don't recall when the last time that they actually did the emergency test system. But yes, this one happened pretty early for me here today. It was about like 10:45-ish or like around that time. But yeah. That's one of the headlines. Scientists looked at a nearly ever known amphibian type. They're not doing great. So we got more animals going extinct. We have Simone Biles leads U.S. to a record 7th straight team title at the World Championships. This MacArthur genius knew the initial theory of COVID transmission was flawed. There's more people speaking on that. We have Trump voters are more excited than Biden's, but Trump could lose a lot if convicted. He's still going through his trials, which again, the last one here ends up saying that the judge issues a gag order on Trump in his business fraud case. And last one, I want to say last headline, it says, a bus of tourists in Venice dropped from a elevated road, killing 21 in fiery crash. My goodness. Venice, if y'all don't know, over in Europe, specifically in Italy, it is slowly going underwater. So this is very, very scary that actually happened. Sending my condolences and love out to all the families. And again, there's so much that's happening right now. But again, there go all the news for y'all. Just wanted to share this lightly with y'all. Thank you for hanging out, tuning in with the news and these current events. So now, before I go into our spiel, if y'all have any comments, questions, concerns, anything that you want to share, please, you can put them down in the comments. I appreciate you wholeheartedly. Before I jump into this next topic, as well as speak on the disclaimer. and also fix my armrest because my armrest needs to be fixed. And shouts out to the brother Just Blue. Peace and love, brother. Hope all is well. Haven't seen you in a bit. What's the word, my G? In a world I design like a box. Man, we on that final season, so all the players who came in the first season, I gotta shout you out real quick, Just Blue, because you one of the first folks that came and hopped on these What's the Words back when we first started to do COVID. So I got to give you my love, got to give you respects, as well as for your respects and skills on the mic. Y'all don't know who Just Blue is, please go check out Just Blue. This brother is, when it comes to on the mic, that's all I gotta say. Murder MCs. This dude definitely murdered MCs in these contests. That's all I gotta say. All right. With that being said, y'all, we're gonna jump to the next topic. Before I jump to the next topic, here goes the disclaimer. As much as I love speaking with y'all from the screen, in the comments, talking back and forth, I would love to also see your faces and to continue the dialogue and talks on live. So if you do join the live, more comfortable to do so, just know that this will be on a platform, whether Instagram, YouTube, and any other social media platform. So if you're not comfortable with that, you can go ahead and stay in the comments. But if you are, you're more than welcome to jump on. Just know that you wave your right and then it's going to be out in these places. But if we cool, we good. If not, we just going to keep it moving. So that's a disclaimer. Now, second topic, which we're going to be talking about, kill or be killed. Probably thinking in your mind, okay, what do you mean when we talk about kill or be killed? Y'all let me know. So right now, when you hear that in the comments, when you hear kill or be killed, what's a phrase, what's a thought, or even just one word that comes to mind, kill or be killed, when you hear that? And as y'all put that down, I usually do, of course, a dictionary lookup on Webster's. Shouts out to my homegirl, Chris, aka Alien Space Queen. But I would say we have a comparable understanding of what kill is, or killed in the past tense. So I didn't think we need to necessarily look up the word. But if you want some, we can. You can put it there. Survival of the fittest. You are there, my man. Exactly. Predator and the prey. Exactly. So, in this instant, when I'm speaking, or what we're going to be speaking on when we talking about kill or be killed, it's more so from the aspect not only of life, but also work situations, got school situations, very, very other small and minimal, as well as very high stakes and literal get killed. And basically speaking on the pros and cons of not only thinking of that as a mentality, but also when you are in these type of experiences, coming up with plans to either save yourself, or you count your days has been counted, or you've cashed a reality check too costly to a point where, like Kanye West would say, y'all fresh to death, but I'm deceased. We don't want it to happen, but again, such is life. And shouts out to Santi. Peace and love, Santi. How you doing, brother? What's the word? Let me know. Put it in the comments. But yeah, so reason why I wanted to bring this topic up and really talk about it, especially now, to me, there's no more better time than the present to speak on this, because of the fact that this can be my perception. Y'all can tell me, again, if you don't agree or you do agree. But because of the advancement of technology, the publicity behind news reports, and just having full access to social media so much. Shouts out to Buffet Destroyer. What's going on, brother? Peace and love. We are inundated. We are pushed so much material, whether if it's violent, whether if it is day-to-day life, whether it is distractions, to a point where we see so much. There's so much coming in at us, and it's having a lot of negative effects and repercussions for folks, whether if it's, again, dealing with mental illness, dealing with anxiety, social anxiety, just daily functions as a person and a human being. So where I'm really trying to reference this is the whole idea of kill or be killed. It's to a point where some of y'all were already saying it. Survival of the fittest. We have the predator and the prey. You end up saying the bullier and the bullied. It gets to the idea that at every moment in life, I know we take risks, but it gets to that thought process that every moment, every step that you make, every move that you take, I'm not trying to do it from a song, it's life or death. So leaving out your house, it's life or death. Jumping into the car to go to work, to drive, to go see family, it's life or death. Whether or not you decide to go and spend money on food, it's life or death. And it gets to a point where it's on two extremes. It's extreme with the thought and the process. And for many people, speaking in extremes is not extremely healthy for them. We'll hop on in a bit. My daughter's brother, all love. I appreciate it. And speaking in those extremes for folks is too extreme for them. So when it comes to coping and finding strategies to actually push through, it makes it even harder for them to stomach this reality. And for me, again, what I see on the outside, at least my day in and day out interactions, especially in the schools, I can see the fundamental breakdown of our next generations. And it's sad to see, because of the fact that our prior foundations not only being questioned, which is a great thing, but they're being stripped away to a point that where are we landing? Where are we standing on? What are we really living for? I'm not, in a sense, it really begs the question for a lot of people asking what they're truly living for. We're losing our why. And when you start to lose your why, when you have that type of mentality of kill or be killed, at any moment in time, you're going to end up be fighting the world at every step, every corner that pops up and that shows up. And what that does is has an impact on our already primitive mind, which fight or flight, freeze, fawn setup that's there. And what that does is it keeps you in a constant loop and a constant alertness mode 24/7. Because back way when hunter and gatherers, I don't know all the science, but y'all can still get me on it. There are points and times where that fight or flight was needed. It was necessary for survival. But now in this day and age and where we're at, because of how much we've advanced, we have so many luxuries. We have so many things that we have comforted ourselves. We have confided in a lot of these things that we shouldn't have to have that program running 24/7. But again, when it comes to pride, comes to fall. Many people have gotten to that point to where what we call it survival mode. We hear it so many times. I'm just in survival mode. We're not in thriving mode. We're not in thrival mode or thriving at all. We're still in that survival mode. And a part of it is, again, the changing of times and understanding. I know You might have not been dealt the best hands. You may live in an environment where there is a lot of dysfunction and things are going on. But folks who are not fully prepared for that stuff, that do not have a foundation, or they have little to no support on, again, walking that path, it gets to this extreme. And part of it is to try to keep their sanity. So to think to either be killed or to kill or to be killed is that, is someone going to outdo me or I'm going to outdo them? And again, it can be helpful to some, but it cannot be taken to such an extreme, to a point where every single decision that you make, every single experience that you have on a day-to-day basis is literally like, if I don't win this, life is over for me. And the reason why I speak on that is because, like I said earlier, I work in the schools, and I appreciate you, Santi, for that. Numbness is at a max. It sure is. Our threshold has not moved when it comes to our experiences with pain, struggle, etc., because of the fact that we've been, again, domesticated and so used to this system, to a point where, like, the PC culture, being baby, being coddled, has took off that tough edge and exterior from us. So a lot of kids, a lot of people nowadays are very, very quick to anger, quick to express emotions, and to let any small interaction get the better of them. But again, going back to the talk about at least the students and seeing this on a day-to-day basis, at least where I'm working, a lot of the students have to, because of the environment that they're in, because of the resources that they lack, as well as the molding of character that they're not able to get. This is their mentality, especially when it comes to other people. And it leads into the idea too of respect. So when they don't feel that they're getting the respect, or someone's trying to get over on them, it's as if they've already, again, through a punch, is threatening their life. But it's more so, it's that extra fear and that insecurity that hasn't been addressed, because of the fact that they're not insecure of all the stuff that they have, or they're the lack of. So when I see this happen on a day-to-day basis with the kids and speaking with some of the students, again, it gives me insight to see not only on what's missing, but what even led them to start having this type of mentality of, no, it's either them or me. Which, again, I'm not saying it is a terrible thing to have, but many will not be able to use it in a way to motivate and push them to then find another route to then dispose of that type of motivation to push them further towards being a better version of themselves. I just recently, in the same token, had a meeting with a student, a parent today, about a student's growth, as well as, needed accommodations to help with that growth. And the student talked about how not only she doesn't feel that she is worthy enough, but at the same time, she feels that she's let down so many people, including her mom, family, teachers, that is to a point where she doesn't think she can do any of this at all. She feel like this is it. Like, that's why I have the problems that I have. This is why there's the people that are around me, or the people around me, as well as I'm never going to be able to do any of these things to get better, but I want to be better so bad. But this could almost be the end of the line for me. And I was very glad to have that conversation, have that meeting with the mom as well as the teachers, and to see the encouragement, and then to see her face light up, knowing that she may not think that that's happening for her, but in actuality, they've seen that change, and she was able to verbally hear that now from her teachers, from her mom, to get that reassurance and to be reassured that you are going on that route. Just because these things happened in the past to you, you were seen this way in the past, doesn't mean that you can make for a greater change now. So helping her to understand and understand that it doesn't necessarily end with, okay, since now I can't be better at any of this, I can't do any of this, like, this is it. Like, I'm done. There's no reason for me to even keep trying. Like, that's life. That's it. It's never going to change. So being able to see her get that feeling from people in the moments is where it leads to now her being able to process this and figure out what's the next moves. But at the same time, it just goes to show you, not just only her, but a lot of people with all the decisions that they have to make day in and day out, it makes you start to stay in that survival mode because of the fact that if not, that's it. But like I said, I was grateful for to see that conversation and things happen. But when we really look at it, not only from a smaller aspect of the kids, because again, they're the future, at least to me, we know they're the future. If we're not able to mold them where they are now, we're going to continue to see this trajectory right now get even more and more crazy than it is now. So the whole mentality too of kill or be killed, when I see it in the news, I always trace back, and I know this has been a couple of years, I always go trace back to specifically when COVID was starting to get its first rise, where people was going to, I guess, the markets, running bum rushing. Folks was being killed, hurt, marred, and maimed over chicken sandwiches. We had, again, people storming places, stealing things. Well, even now, especially in Cali, there was a bill that was passed, or again, was being drafted out about literally just letting people come for these petty theft crimes. They were letting them just go, especially if there were these small crimes of sorts here and there. And if anyone tried to intervene with these petty crimes, they will be charged or they will be fined. I forgot how much in particular, but where I'm getting at is, again, it's going to show, because of the changing of times, not only just because of inflation, but really the instability of what's happening and going on in the world is making it very harder and harder for people to not only cope, but figure and find a way. And we're losing out on one of the biggest aspects that I'm glad you guys come here and also check out, hang out, and really build. See, there, okay, 18,000. Intervene and try to stop something from happening, but you're at fault for doing so. It's again, a very, not only
What up? You there, brother?
yo, what's going on? What's the
What's
word?
going on, man?
Peace,
What's the word, brother?
peace.
How you doing?
I'm
I'm not
grateful,
seeing
man.
you.
You
I'm
can't
seeing a
see me?
black screen.
You want to pop back in and pop out?
Yeah, I'll do
All
that.
right,
I'll do
go
that. Give me a second.
for it.
All right.
Bam, we got folks popping in, but yeah, we'll see what's up. Spooky Mama, he'll be back. Can you see me now?
All right,
All
I'm back.
right, jump off the live, like
I,
leave the live and then come back into the live.
all right, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll close the app and everything. My bad.
No, you're fine.
All right.
We are all good. But again, it's making it, the media, the changing of a lot of the laws. That's why I say it's important to keep track of the news and what you're watching and understand, especially because I keep speaking to California because I'm seeing the news pop up. There's so many laws and different assembly bills and just that are being passed, assembly bills that need to be looked at. It has your attention on it because this is also going to have an impact on your livelihood and what's going on with where you're at. The cost of living is continuing to rise and it's causing more and more conflict with others. Can you hear me
You know,
now,
bro?
brother?
Yeah, I still can't, but it's probably. Hold on, let me see. It even disconnected me from my earbuds. I could hear you though, bro. It's all
Okay,
good.
so we're gonna
Yeah.
talk into the
Yeah.
abyss.
Yeah. I've done
But yeah, my G.
this before.
So yeah, I've been there before, man. So right now I'm just speaking on. I've been just going
Yeah.
on a just run about, kill or be killed, and really seeing it from just the idea, the mentality of, again, some people are already pitting survival of the fittest, but in a sense of, you know is either them or me. And like I was given earlier, seeing students have that mentality and some not being able to handle it to a point where they just want to, be like, I think this is it. And that also is very telling of why there's been a huge spike in not only, suicides and depression,
Yeah.
is because not only we're inundated with so much of his information, but it's to a point where it's overload, and it's hard for someone to take that time in moments, which I'm also starting to notice, which I've always spoke about, is that if you're not getting your your healthy doses of not only information but food through all of the senses of your body, you'll be housing a very toxic being. And that's what's going on too, is because some of the stuff that these kids are eating, and I'm starting to see now California wants to start banning some of these food colors and other processed foods which shouldn't even be in here. It's already had a detrimental effect on these children's attention, as well as how much they can recall and
Yeah.
be able to regulate themselves. So I'm starting to
And,
see not just a full picture from all of this, but
and their hyperactivity
yes,
and all that. I agree. And even health.
yes,
People think sometimes kids catch a cold over catching it from someone else. Sometimes they get them symptoms from the stuff they're consuming.
yes,
You know what I'm saying? I had to change my daughter's whole diet. I mean, in the environment that I grew up in, you could eat everything and anything, right? You're healthy. You have to eat.
yep,
And we were programmed that
yeah,
way. And with her, she was a rare case where it was affecting her health. And the mainstream medical field, I'll call it that, they were telling us, no, 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 just give her, treat the symptoms. Let's treat the symptoms. You don't have to treat the disease. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But how's the only form that you can treat a disease? And you were touching on it just from a mental health perspective a while ago with the kids that you deal
yeah,
with, right?
yeah.
Why don't, like, where have we gone wrong to the point where we're not even treating a disease anymore? We're treating only symptoms. We're putting a
Because
band-aid on
it's
it.
yes, because it's more cost effective to do so.
Yeah.
And again, we how last 2 weeks how we were positioning and we were learning about also the different breakdowns of government, and really how especially the US is seen. The US is a business. It's
Yeah.
a corporation. We don't have a monarchy. We don't have a king and queen. We don't have any other type of ruling, title for our leader. They're a CEO. They're a
Mm-hmm.
president, which is a CEO of a company. So it is in the best interest, especially if folks are seeing now, especially I haven't got to see the new tax brackets that they're reworking now. But the only way that you get a lot of the brackets or even get a nice, tax break is if you own a business. Like
Yeah.
California, like to the US, like it's a business. So if you have a business, it's in your best interest to get tax breaks because of the fact that this is running as a business. So are we really truly here to, help and take care of our fellow man in some senses? No, because of the fact that it's more cost effective to, all right, you take this pill, which then actually this pill might have a side effect of this here. So that means now
Yeah.
you got to go drive to this place to go see Dr. Kunta to make sure that you get this particular pill for that side effect. And it gets to a point where I'll even continue from what I was talking about with the student. There's a few students that I come to find out because that happens. They have what one of the kids I have, he is taking medicine for his sleep disorder. He's taking medication for ADHD. He's taking medication for his breathing. He's taking medication. Look at he's taking medication for also. It says it's a psychosomatic.
Okay. So can I pause you real quick just to give you my firsthand experience. And I love that I have some family up in here. What's up, Cheyenne?
Peace, peace.
What's up to my cousin John? My cousin John's doing big things. I think he's still in here. Yep, he is. What's up, you guys? And this is an update even for them
Yes.
on them not knowing what I've been going through the last couple of years. And you just nailed it, right? On where the focus goes when it comes down to these type of cases.
Yeah.
My daughter, a couple years ago, like I said, we didn't know we're not young parents, but we're new parents. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't know anything. We were dependent on getting the professional opinion from a doctor, right? With all these things. And I started looking into other avenues because they were just treating the symptoms. So I started going more the holistic route, vitamins, things like that. And it helped. It helped. But the doctor told me, no, what's helping her is the albuterol that I'm prescribing her, the steroids, this and that. But in a span of 6 months, she got off of all that, right? And then we had to make some very wise decisions due to the times that we're in. I'll just say that much with regards to her and whether we're going to do this or not. And we did it in order to, because we're being told that it's best for us to do certain things and make certain decisions with our daughter. And we were scared, you know, that in the event if she caught something that she'd get very sick and who knows what would happen. So we did it. A few months later, I hope you do not get cut off or I don't get cut off with what I'm about to say.
Hey, I'm not new to this. I've been true to this, and it happens, but let's go for it.
So a few months later, I want to say July of 2022, she starts getting seizures in her sleep. And we didn't know what a seizure looked like. My wife knows what a seizure looked like, but this didn't look like a seizure. We're like... what's going on? I mean, that put my wife through the ringer for a few months. That put me on a no sleep schedule trying to find out what's going on. We had to wait 3 months to actually have an appointment to see what was going on there. Okay? All we had was prayers and research to depend on. That's it. And so anyways, long story short, this situation almost came to a conclusion a few months ago. I want to say we're in September, so in August. No, we're in October, so in August, 2 months ago. We took her last neurologist appointment, and the neurologist once again, for the second time in the span of a year, tells us, hey, well, you're gonna want to give her this medication because it's gonna stop them. It's gonna stop the seizures. It's gonna stop this and that. You know what I mean? And in my head, I'm like, okay, well, what's the other option? He wouldn't give me any other option. She doesn't get them frequently. She doesn't have severe seizures. They're like very mild seizures, but it's a scary thing to see as a parent, especially when you're trying to sleep, right? Anyways, he ended up giving her the prescription. My wife and I were there, and we're like, okay, prescribe it to her. But as we left, my wife's like, I don't know if I want to give it to her because the side effects really outweigh the pros. You know what I'm saying? And the side effects were, I mean, 1 in a 500 chance of wanting to commit suicide, self-harm, things like that. And we're talking about an 8-year-old, you know, 7-year-old.
Wow.
And as it is, she's already hyperactive, you know, and he's like, well, if you guys want to sleep well at night, that's what you're going to want to do. Then I go to her primary doctor, who kept advising us the same exact thing throughout that whole year. But that day she had a physical, and that day he tells me, well, how's her diet? And I told him all the changes that we did with her diet in order for her to get rid of the asthma. Then he drops this bomb on me where he's like, well, you should still give her the medication. I'm with what the neurologist is saying, but FYI, if you have her on a very low-fat diet, the brain works off of fat. It functions off of fat. So you might want to give her a higher fat diet. So at that point, he was making me do option A and B, not option A or B. You know what I mean? And ever since then, we went with option B. Okay, give her a little bit, you know, a higher fatty diet, and we'll see how that goes. And so far, it's gone well. You know what I'm saying? And so we had to take it into our own hands. So going back to what you were saying, it's very unfortunate that we're in a position where we cannot depend on what we're being told. No
Yeah.
disrespect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you're on your deathbed, even then, I don't know, man.
Yes.
And I'm just
It's
saying this due to the trauma that we've gone through in the last year. You know?
well, I appreciate you being so open about
Yeah.
that and sharing, because I know there's many other folks and families that, are dealing with the same thing and having to make tough decisions. I really sitting in some of the meetings and talking with parents about their students and what they're taking, for me it's a very hard line to be like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that, but I don't get mad at the parents for being very skeptical because of the fact that, and I've broken this word down for folks. You want to go check it out. I'm not trying to do a selfish plug to YouTube, but I was at a point in time I was breaking words down within the English language. And one of the words that came up to me, because it was very interesting, and I'm going to tell a quick story about it and get back to it, was I broke down the word pharmacy. So I have it on my
Mm-hmm.
YouTube where I broke it down. But the interesting thing about why that word popped out to me is when I lived in Seattle, it was about 2016. I lived there from 2015 to 16. Uh, I happened to be passing by one of the markets, the Safeway, and when the places have been there for years is when they haven't changed their neon signs and they have words that are missing
Yeah.
signs and it's spelled so differently. But I was so aware of words as a kid that when I was passing by that just randomly, I'm on a bus and I see pharmacy, the P is gone. So all I ended up seeing was pharmacy. And I was like, pharmacy? So then it started to get me going. It started getting me thinking, and how we were speaking about earlier with they're just looking at in it for the profit and for the gain
Yeah.
versus for the overall well-being and health of somebody, which they have a Hippocratic oath for that. But I don't know where, I shouldn't say I know where most of the allegiance is to, but I broke that word down and it got to a point where my definition was roughly around, it says the art, there's like the art and action of harming oneself. And the reason why I brought that to that case is because it's a place, not only because we were talking about the multiple side effects, and we was talking about the idea of what drugs were, like it's all broken down into the video. I'm not gonna go too further
Yeah.
into it, but that it's a testament to you talking about it and seeing that, because what we've been fed is been fed that a lot of these artificial medicines, drugs, and different concoctions are what is going to save us, which even time and time again, when we've had this virus, I'm not going to say the name, but this virus, and we talked about why there's so many different mutations happening, and it's because of the fact that a lot of the stuff that is extremely artificial can mutate very quickly and create more other variants of these things. And it's because of the fact that it is artificial. A lot of stuff that's artificial is unstable.
Yeah.
We went away from the traditional natural remedies or the holistic remedies because of the fact that for some folks it's become taboo, and some of it they think it's pseudoscience.
Mm-hmm.
It has no play in words. So where do you, for me, is if we were to go back through our lineages, we would go back through the communities that we were in prior to years and years and stuff to go, we would see that where were we making these medicines? How were we doing that? We were getting this from Mother Earth. We had different. See, there's to a point where I'm gonna tell you this now, and this is not only crazy, but I've just noticed this. Just as much as a lot of people nowadays don't have a recipe and cookbook of their own, and they go look for stuff online from people, people don't have home remedy books anymore. There's not just like I'm not even talking about like getting rubbing alcohol and doing this. I'm talking about like, okay, grandma and them say, yo, go and get some walnuts, get this here,
Yeah.
rub them up, and then, your rash and stuff will be better and stuff like that. There's not many people doing that now. And another reason that I found out, and y'all can fact check me on it, again, I'm not the knower of all knowledge. I'm just speaking what I find out. I do forget at times, so please push back on me. But a lot of this also started when, these families that we talk about, we got the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all of those, etc. I'm not going down the whole loop for my folks who think this is conspiracy. You can go get this and fact check it yourself. There's a lot of stuff. But they opened up, if it was either the Rothschilds or the, again, Rockefellers, they opened up a medicine, school. And it was to fight off cancer. But during those times, for those kids who were going into that medical school, guess what they were learning? How to fight off cancer. What were they using?
What were they using?
They were using petroleum. They were using a lot of harmful methods to fight off cancer. And students who were talking about home remedies and actually had books for those home remedies were either getting kicked out of the school, blacklisted, excommunicated, and those books went up missing. So where I'm getting at with all of this is, it's important to, at times, why I literally like to do fasting, I've learned to become one with my body. I'm not saying I'm always going to go against what a doctor or whoever else is saying. I'm always going to take information and process it myself to make sure that it makes sense. But really learning how to get back to the natural balance of noticing what you need for your body, because guess what? There's a book called a medical apartheid, and there's always going to be the dosages for a lot of medicines. It's not necessarily structured for all races of people, all sizes, all shapes. It's not. It's the baseline is mostly based off of the majority of folks, which in this particular case is white men and women. So some of those dosages could actually mess you up, or it can be less of a dosage, so then it can even not be effective to a point where it is like, okay, I'm gonna either need a higher dosage, or now I need to go to something that's even more effective. So it's hard to, with those medicines, know what truly works for you. But if you're not taking the medicines, then they're thinking something is extremely wrong with you. When in the case is, you're trying to do what's best for you and yours and your loved ones, and is not trying to go against the word. But if somebody comes to me and they have a cure-all for the common cold, it hasn't been tested, but they're just some person that's credible with this, and say, do you want to purchase and buy this? I'm definitely going to take my time and be like, I don't know if that necessarily is the price for me. I appreciate it, but you're making it to a point where you're not letting people make their own decisions.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you next. What do you think is the root cause of our decision making this day and age?
The root cause of our decision making right now in this day and age, for me, it stems from, honestly, it stems from a mixture of things. It stems from fear, which a lot of that is either fear of the unknown or fear of consequences, complacency. So basically being able to not only be extremely comfortable with stuff, but also knowing that the boundary for yourself is not being pushed. So learning how to question, as well as the miseducation. So being misinformed and miseducated on how you're supposed to think, how you're supposed to speak, how you're supposed to learn, which wraps all of this all together into basically being indoctrinated.
Yeah.
And that's why our decision making is where we're at, is because we're not letting ourselves take time to actually think for ourselves, even though we are saying that we want students to think critically. We want our citizens to think actively and be able to share and give back. But all of the programs that we have in place, some of the programs are very vital to help families, especially that are there, that's not even living within the status quo.
Yeah.
But to a point where it's providing it as a crutch and making it as a way out, so that literally you're not going to want to go over the fence to see if it actually is greener. They're cool with being on the other side where the grass is still very stale, it's burnt out, hasn't seen much water. What's the reason for me to even go on the other side when I can get this stuff? I can still actually eat all the foods that I want, but I got to take at least 15 pills a day, so then I can say that. So
It's like, yeah, it's like we've been programmed that it's okay to live a lukewarm lifestyle. You
Mm,
know, you know what I'm saying?
mm. Well put. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
like it's okay to be hot and cold. You know what I mean? And it's like they say, I know history repeats itself like every 100 years or so, and you were touching on that a while ago without saying it.
Yes.
And there's moments in times, especially the times we're living in, where we can't even identify right from wrong. I feel like, it's rough. Like they're telling you that the wrong is right and that the right is wrong. It's weird, and I think it takes a unique type of individual or movement,
Yes.
more so movement, not individual movement, to actually push that narrative.
Yes.
That it's okay. It's okay to not agree with everything that you're
Yeah.
being told.
But what's happening again, and thank you. That's exactly I'm 100% there with you. Is also too where I spoke about 2 weeks ago, and about us being legally pawns,
Mm,
and how when we pledge allegiance to something, there that expectation of when you pledge allegiance to something is 100% allegiance. You can't do 85, you can't do 72, you can't do 97. You gotta do 100% allegiance, and we know how. Not gonna say impossible, but we know how unlikely that is for anybody in this world to be 100% dedicated to something, because day in and day out, again, we change, our emotions change, us as people, thought processes change. There's things that I used to like as a child that I don't necessarily like now, because of the fact that, guess what, I grew out of it, I learned to like other things. That will happen. So if you're saying we have to pledge allegiance 100% to this life that we're living, or this system that we're in, we also have to go. And that's why I'm glad, especially during not only 2020, but when 45, for folks who don't want to know his name, but when Trump was in office, people were actually mobilizing. So we saw it as the whole idea of the enemy within my enemy is my friend, but we actually started doing things more than just sitting back and be like, okay, I voted sticker, I did my part. No, it's, are the officials holding up their parts? Are your local government holding up their parts? Are they saying what they say that they would, and that's the reason why they got your vote? No.
exactly.
And that's where, again, and it stems to this whole idea of why we get so complacent after we've already thought we've done what we've done, that people aren't motivated, they're not pushed, and they're not becoming lifelong learners, because of the fact that at any step in a way they can push that learning off to technology, somebody else's thoughts, somebody else's
Mhm.
perspectives, somebody else's philosophies, which to me, again, it's great to have basis for a lot of stuff. So for all my folks who's either reading the Bible, the Quran, all of these things, learning bits and pieces of information from everywhere, it's a great thing. But learning how to interpret it and take it in as your own is where you begin to create that growth as a person. And the thing is, in the US, that's not necessarily the case. That's really frowned upon, because if you start learning all of these stuff, you're going to not only say things that don't fall in line with that allegiance, because, oh, now you're keeping us accountable for stuff, but you are also targeting and making other groups of people feel bad for the thoughts and things that you are saying, when you're trying to just speak a point and really get across that if we want to better ourselves, we're going to have to not only just look at the proverbial mirror, but we also going to have to talk our way through these things, because I need to understand and know the reasons behind why you identify this way, why you feel that things should stay this way, or why we can't even cross this line. I understand people say at the dinner table and other places. You shouldn't talk about religion or politics. But it's to a point where every day is a political statement of living. It don't matter who, what, when, where you go. The skin I'm
Yeah.
in, the clothes that I wear, the expressions and the body language that I give off to people, it's always going to come off some way, and it always can lead back to something political. So, and the whole jab of what I'm saying is the whole wrap up of what I'm saying is that, yeah, it's gotten to a point where we don't want you to make decisions. We want to make decisions for
Exactly.
you.
Yeah. And we want to make sure you're on a certain side.
Yes.
We don't want you to learn from the opposing side that we're pitting you up against.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That blows my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If my neighbor has a different thought process than what I do, I want to learn. I want to know the why, as you stated. I want to know, hey, well, why do you do this that way? Or why do you go to church on Saturdays instead of Sundays? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, without opposing or contradicting them, like, I want to learn, you know? And like right now I don't know how to explain it. Like, they just want us to, and I don't know who they is. I don't know. It could be this device. It could be something else, but
Yeah.
it could be the real founding fathers that you were talking about earlier. I don't know who they are anymore, but it's like, but it's okay to think differently. You know what I mean? It's okay for people to mind their own business. You know what I mean? It's okay, as my cousin just said, you can disagree and still have constructive conversations. Exactly.
Yes.
It's okay to
Yes.
do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could root for a different team. Does it mean because you root for a different team that person is your enemy? In my youth, maybe I thought that way, not anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that goes hand in hand with what you were saying about you changing it, and I call it more evolving and graduating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, yeah, I feel like they want us to be infants with our mentality.
Yes.
You know?
Because I I'm recalling a quote. I know it's either from Sigmund Freud, Karl Marx, or it was Sigmund Freud's protege. Can't think off the top of my head, but not only saying that religion is the opium of the masses, but also when you have a society and a civilization of less critical thinkers,
Mm-hmm.
it is so much easier to not only push the agenda that you want, but there will be less resistance against it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what has happened full heartedly for us, is that we're too deep in the matrix or in the system for some folks to be pulled out. And what I mean by that is people are starting to notice and starting to see that all of the things that we come across on a daily basis or are eating, watching, listening to, it's not beneficial for our
Yeah.
health. And we're just starting to see that other societies or, other countries, again, I go back to the food because right now that's one of the biggest things. I mean, I'm reading right now. There's a book, actually, if I have it back over here, I'm going to pull it up. Here you go. So the book that I'm reading right now is called Estro Generation, and it's by Anthony G.J. And let me see, I'm going to try to put it this way. Let's see if it'll work if I flip the camera this way.
I still can't
So
see
y'all can see.
you, bro. So they
Oh,
can see
yeah.
you, though.
But
It's all good.
yeah. But the book, it says it's called Estro Generation, how estrogenics are making you fat, sick, and infertile. Infertile. And it's by Anthony G.J. And what I'm getting from it, basically, what I've already known a lot of this stuff, not only with the red dyes and things of that sorts, but a lot of the BPA that we're talking about, the bottles are actually BPA. You're starting to come to find out that they actually still have a lot of traces of that, because these estrogenics, which people talked about with the study with the frogs and the atrazine getting into the water system and how it was having an impact on the frog population.
Yeah.
A lot of those estrogenics, yes, the book is on Amazon. You can find it there on Amazon. Is having such a negative effect. Not, I mean, especially, I mean, on men. I know, again, for women, it's just the balance, but it's just going to show for me when it comes to the food that so many things, and I've had even on other lives where I've read articles that were saying these are certain foods that are still allowed here in the U.S., but they're banned in other countries.
Yeah.
We're still letting it be here, and
Yeah.
now we're starting to see, oh, now it's more of a detriment. We shouldn't have had them do it, but guess what? The effects have already happened. We
Yeah.
have generations of kids who have went through this cycle of they've eaten these foods, and now their parents have passed down genetic codes of, now that's why they have these particular genes in particular, you know, necessarily,
I mean,
struggles
you could
that
call it a
now,
mutation.
yeah,
Mhm.
again. So it's like we've already went through like 3 full cycles of this stuff, and now how are we gonna already regress all of this stuff within a matter of like months, and then
Yeah.
some, for some people within years? It's gonna end up taking almost, if not twice as many of the generations to mold all of this out.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying that it is hopeless, but it's now or never.
Yeah. Do you think that that plays a part too in the way we I mean, you just mentioned fasting a while ago, so do you think the rest of that plays a key part in the way we approach our decisions, our I mean, just the way we decide to lead our life away from the substances that we're consuming?
Yes, and
Yeah.
the reason, and I'm gonna give, this is just my own, again, perspective and thoughts,
Mhm.
but I'm a very clean person. I mean, when it comes to food, that's my only, at least one of my only weaknesses right now, is still making sure. I mean, I don't eat certain meats. If y'all want to know dietarily what I eat, I would be considered under the blanket of a pescatarian. That's all I
Oh,
really
okay.
eat, meat wise.
Yeah.
But I don't smoke, don't drink any of the extras of things I don't do. But what I've noticed, especially when I do fast and when I really started listening to my body, which that process happened almost about 10 years now. So, and that's when I started cutting out certain foods. I started to notice that my body, it was speaking to me in ways. When I got rid of stuff, it was like, okay, I'm gonna give you extra energy then. Okay, you slept very well. Your body's I'm gonna randomly wake you up at 4, and you're gonna have so much energy, you're gonna wonder, why do you have so much energy? So
Hmm.
me learning how to slowly weed things out, and then this is where for some people will be like, okay, then what's the supplement to that? Or what do I put in place of if I'm going to get rid of this thing? Not going cold turkey, but you can cut it, slowly
Yeah,
but surely.
absolutely. Yeah.
So once I did do that with the meat, that's why I noticed, like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah.
2016, out in Seattle, for me, I can say it was like my extra awakening per se, but that's where I really start looking deeper into why I started making the choices that I did. So I start cutting out more. And when I cut out more, I started to see again, my body was rewarding me. I started losing a lot more weight. It got to a point where now I'm regressing because of the fact that I'm getting too tempted with some of the stuff my mom keeps putting in the house. I'm not gonna blame her; it's all me. But
Yeah.
there's to a point in time that after I made this change to what I ate and how I interacted with food, that I wouldn't even go past. For me, I'm 5'7", 5'8". I rarely went past 190, if not even got close to 190. So I was always fluctuating between 170 and 180. It was always in between there. And for me, that was back to, of course, a semi-healthy weight. For me, I have a different build. But during that time, because I did that, it opened myself to, because I'm a very curious person too. That's how I was as a kid. Is it opened myself to, then, okay, since I started cutting food out, okay, what are some other things that I can learn about that has to do with, improving self? And then that's where meditation started coming in. I took a meditation class in college, and then that started opening my mind to, okay, what is this whole idea of mindfulness? And then start looking into, I was a lover of martial arts. So learning all the different disciplines of martial arts, then coming to find out, okay, what's stoicism? Then I started learning about stoicism. And then it got to a point where when I started to do my fasting, when I started to do the meditation, when I started to do these different, practices, there are times where folks will talk about them having not only just outer body experiences, but having moments of bliss, like full bliss. I've gotten to at least have 3 of those moments, and
Yeah.
two of them being in the comfort of my home.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that I not only sat there with myself to figure this out and actually just took time to push against something that could be taking me out of my comfort zone and you know, be a form of discomfort, that's where the growth came. And that's where I was like, yo, now that I did that, now I can start thinking about this. Now I start questioning this. It starts opening my mind up, knowing to that, okay, when I get off of this balance, okay, now let me go back to that to help me rebalance and realign myself. It gave me it's not only a why, but it also gave me basically just like a reminder of
Result.
balance, a
Yeah.
result. Yeah. So anytime I know that I would be off, it'll be because, oh, I knew I had ate this, or because I listened to this particular,
Yeah.
song or this stuff, and it threw me off. And I'm not saying you become hypersensitive. You become aware of
Yeah.
what you need to keep yourself in this balance among all the craziness that's still happening around you, and you're still able to be calm. So
Yeah.
once I did all of that, it just made my mind a lot clearer. And then speaking to people who would go on and be sober and do their cleanses, they notice the difference. And especially for my weed smokers, not trying to burst y'all's bubble or be a downer to anything, but I'm gonna let y'all know I've looked into some stuff. Still, you can get me on it, look it up, get the information for yourself. But the way that we're ingesting, weed, hemp, all of that stuff, it is not to be smoked. What's happening is if you actually smoke it, I'm just letting you know, yes, exactly. You talking about, you feel that high, it's a brain fog. It's actually just fogging up your mind. I know you're trying to release it to, release the tension, which that's what hemp does on its own. It's to help release tension in the muscles. But when you're doing that, a lot of plants, people forget, a lot of plants, a lot of fruits, and a lot of vegetables, besides all the pesticides that doesn't need to be sprayed on some of these foods, some of these plants and foods and vegetables already have natural defenses against outside forces already.
Yeah.
And when you tamper with this stuff, you get those side effects from those defenses. And for weed, one of them, again, it creates that brain fog. Actually, that smoke that you're inhaling is actually a toxin from the leaf that you're burning out of it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying like,
I mean,
y'all
I,
still,
I,
again,
I think that's applicable to any burnt, I mean, not burnt, smoked substance.
yes.
And you're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah. It,
So,
it's, it's mind blowing, man. It's mind blowing the way that, many of us have been programmed
yeah,
to focus on the small
yeah,
things and not focus on the
yes,
big things. Big things is thyself. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? Small things is something that doesn't apply to you,
yes,
really. Whomever is, you were saying something earlier about people taking sides, about the decisions that we make, what we consume. I mean, we're a product of a huge marketing campaign.
1000%.
I feel like, we're a huge product of a marketing campaign. Why isn't there a marketing campaign on the local bills? And I mean, not a small marketing campaign where you see a commercial once a day,
Yeah,
but I mean, why can't those marketing campaigns on small bills that are really going to affect my backyard be on TV, on the radio, everywhere like clockwork, just like when it's a president running for election? No disrespect to president running, whomever, a candidate running for president,
yeah.
the effect is very minimal to your household, in my
Mm-hmm,
opinion.
mm-hmm.
But a local bill being passed is way bigger than that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is in your backyard. And we are just sweeping that under the rug because we're being brainwashed on the so-called big fish. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes.
So what are we going to do to fix that?
Again, I'm gonna say again, it's one of the values that I'm starting to see is not valued anymore. Two of them, I should say, because they're basically intertwined together, is family and community.
Mm.
We've gotten to a point where, and this is also, I'm going to go into a metaphor and example of it. We've gotten to a point where, for me, I live in a city which, ironically, the city is called the city of good neighbors. But the way that we live, and it's to pop off the metaphor, we live in homes, confined in homes that, again, are from cinder block. A lot of this stuff that is still artificial, unnatural, so that we can really tap in with what's natural around us in nature. We're in these cinder blocks of homes, how they're made. If yours is wood, still, I'm going to say, made houses. What do we sit on? We sit on a street, technically called a block. We're locked off from each other because most of the time we're either where? At school, we're at work, we're out somewhere having to do what we're doing. Not much is community being made, especially nowadays, especially because of the virus when it came through. Now people are more and more sheltered in a way. I'm just speaking on my experience here. It could be other places where that's the complete opposite. Y'all can let me know. And it's gotten to a point where we've created our own communities and our own blocks and places as our own prisons.
Yeah, it's true.
And because we've done that, we don't know who our neighbor is. We don't know why our neighbor has moved here and how they even play a point to the community at whole.
Exactly.
So if I don't know my neighbors, anybody that's around me, I'm not even connected fully with my family. Good night to you too, Spooky Mama. Peace and love. Thank you for coming through. I'm connected to my family.
Thank you.
How am I going to end up? Yeah. How am I going to even worry about going up to City Hall to go sit in on a City Hall meeting to have my word and say about what's happening in the community, and I don't even know my quote unquote my house.
Exactly.
So the solution starts at home.
Yeah, that goes hand in hand with what you just. Yeah, you just did an amazing way of piggybacking off of. I mean, on what I was trying to say and giving it a better description. We're too focused on everything away from us.
Yes.
Too focused on things that are probably not going to affect us. They're not going to affect your immediate household, and at the same time, that's deteriorating the community. It's deteriorating what's within. You know what I mean?
Yes, wholeheartedly, because for you to truly know what you can provide for others, you got to know what you can provide for yourself first.
Exactly.
And it's not even in a way as of like a relationship type stuff of like, oh, you have to be able to give of someone to do this, that you're going to have to be able to be very, a steward.
Yeah.
But how are you going to know that you can be a steward to somebody else if you can't steward yourself?
Exactly.
If I don't know how to tie my own shoes, how am I going to come to you and tie your shoes?
Yeah. You're right.
So
absolutely right. And
because of this stuff, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
And because of this stuff, that's where, again, leading into the mentality and the day-to-day experiences that are happening on social media, happening in the news, people create that mentality of kill or be killed because of the fact that I have not only just no allegiance to the people in the community around me, the people in the community around me at some point in time are also out to get me. So it has to be them before me because of the fact that, again, there is no I for really in community because of the fact that when I don't see me in the community, I'm not present.
Exactly.
Peace and love, my brother Sabi Smooth in the building. One of the smoothest you've ever heard on the guitar, drums. Like, man, that's my brother. One half of the booth in the building. What's good, my G? And that sets
Yeah,
a
you,
precedent for everything else. It sets a precedent for all of that. From, again, like you said, the bigger stuff to the small stuff.
yeah,
But to reverse it, for us to be able to handle the bigger stuff, we got to understand what the small stuff is. But the small stuff, either way you want to flip it, whether if it could be big for you, can be small, it is learning that knowledge of self and
yeah,
being able to sit with self to figure
yeah.
that stuff out. Because to be honest with you, once people actually take that time, and I know it's a scary thing to do, is to really sit with yourself and be quiet because there's so much noise on the outside.
Hmm.
But if you really take that chance to really do that, conquer whatever, again, if you need people to help you process that, that's why you find those folks who are in your community that you can have. I mean, back way when we used to have our spiritual leaders, we would have our folks who were having that connection to the beyond. We had folks who were weavers, witch doctors, all this different stuff to help us to come to figure out and think about, if we want to go and take that type of spiritual journey, we would have a guide. And if you need that to be able to sit there with yourself and figure that out, it's important that you take that stride to go for it, because once you take that step in, you'll start to see the improvement. But at the same time, we put up that mask of fear, which to me, false evidence appearing real. It's false. It hasn't even came yet. It's your mind in here. Once you unlock this person and this all here, the solar plexus, the soul, what's in here, all knowledge will come. And the funny thing is, it will be attracted to you to the point where we can speak on what we're speaking about. And it's happened so many times to me that I get to find the information from the outside. It comes to me. And not like, not comes to me like, oh yeah, I'm Nostradamus, I know everything. No, I might just be on my phone and a random article comes up about a topic I was just talking about with somebody else, wanted to have information on it, and boom, it's
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
He said, "Are y'all?" He said, "Are y'all speaking truth or truth speaking?" What's going on, brother? You already know, man. Like a lot of, and that's the. I would say this too, and I want you to get into your spell too. Is because of the fact that we've also lost our sense of not only family and community, but culture. And culture in the sense of, yes, you want to talk about indifferent racial stuff. When you come to learn that all of that is truly interconnected, but to go back and start small and then expand out and see how we
Mhm.
all have stuff connected, that's where you'll start to see more of that learning to come into play. Because a lot of our cultures, we originated from tribes in many different ways and shapes and forms. And a lot of the knowledge that was passed down through oral tradition has lost itself because of this game of telephone. And when people start to try to write this stuff down into books, a lot of it, again, information either got lost, a lot of it got burnt from my people who end up knowing about all the different universities, whether if it's
Mhm.
over in Africa, very different
Yeah,
parts in Europe, etc. A lot of this information was getting burnt and blown away because of the fact that if you don't know the true essence of who you are, where you came from, and all the information that was prior, you're going to keep running, like you said, history repeating itself. You're going to keep running into the same
yeah,
wall when your ancestors already done told you way back when, yo, there's going to be a wall 50, 50 meters into this race. You need to
mhm.
go to the right, because if you go to the left, you're going to end up falling into a pitfall that goes underground. And now you're going to have to take another 10 years to come back up to ground to get back to that.
Yeah,
So it just speaks to the point that since we're losing out on our family, our community, and ideas of culture, not culture in a way of the just split people up, but to understand where we truly come from,
yeah,
to then see how that adds to us as a whole,
yeah.
is so powerful.
It's important to dig into your roots, man. It's so
Yes.
freaking important, and know where everything came from. I mean, with the list of items that you described, that you mentioned that have been lost. I mean, another thing that's been lost is the art of labor. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Art of labor. What happened to the art of labor? I mean, Look at a train, how it was operated 100 years ago versus how it's operated now. You know what I'm saying? That makes us a product of a bad product of technology. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Um, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, I mean, I'm sure I know the answer. I mean, why do most independent artists stick to their roots?
So they don't forget where they come from.
Exactly. Now, let's get the opposite of an independent artist. Where do they end up at sometimes? Back to the
Commercial,
root.
back to roots. No, yeah, true.
Back to the
You're
roots.
right.
You
Yep,
know what I'm saying?
right where they started.
Yeah, right where you started. And when I was talking about the art of labor that has been lost, I mean, man, we used to build cities by hand. We used to build a lot of things.
Yes.
Human beings, I'm talking about. However, whatever process or torture that happened, it happened. But I'm saying we were capable of doing due to what we were consuming, due to we weren't phased by anything. I mean, I've spoken to people right now, man, there's people out there right now that will tell you, oh no, the aliens helped us build those
Yeah.
pyramids. That's because the art of labor has been lost.
Mm. Mm.
That's my opinion. I'm just truth speaking here, or speaking truth, however you want to look at it. You get what I'm saying?
It,
Though it's like
yes.
we have gotten so lost to a point where it's made us lazy, and that's another thing. We have gotten lazy to a point where we're even thinking lazy. It's not
Yes.
that hard to think, you know. Even that's a tough task these days.
Yes.
And
And
I'm sure the device that I'm holding in my hand is a huge culprit for all of that.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? But it should just be looked at as a tool and nothing more. You know?
Again, you're supposed to utilize the tool,
Mm-hmm.
not let the tool utilize you. And
Exactly.
that's where we went wrong with a lot of this stuff. Shouts out to I'll call it a documentary. It might be something different, but the Social Dilemma. Social Dilemma talks about this whole idea of all the social media platforms, a lot of the prior CEOs and higher ups in these different apps in their makings of really their true intention behind what they wanted to do with it, and then come to find out it turned into this completely different beast
Mm.
that has actually went the complete opposite.
Yeah.
But that's where, because and I it's funny that you was talking about, is where you said the art of work. Shouts out since y'all don't know, I'm just gonna premiere it here so y'all know. I got a project coming soon, hopefully within the next month. I'm waiting on a few more verses. I've already done my stuff. But if you go and you purchase it on Bandcamp, there is going to be a unreleased track that's going to be there, and it's titled Art of Work.
Wow.
And it's funny how you brought that up.
That's crazy.
And I was yes. Yeah, and it kind of it peeps off of the concept of seeing the beauty in the hard work,
Yes.
so that you don't think that you working hard is in vain.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's not, and it's nothing against too working smarter. Is of course not. If you learn how to become efficient, you're still
Exactly.
working
Yeah.
hard.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what happens is, like you said, we've been coddled. We've had this point to where, and this is where I'm gonna spit some lines from what I got, because it always just holds
All right.
true to this.
Damn, man. Why isn't
But
this my podcast
yeah,
right now? Damn you.
man. Literally, because we've done that and we've gotten people so comfortable with society, people have grown a huge entitlement. And with that entitlement, bars I have for it is, give them what they need, they will willingly desire it. Pleasing all their needs grants nothing but entitlements.
Mm.
So because of the fact that we don't give, that's why as a parent, I can't speak because I'm not a parent, but getting perspective from my mom, that's the reason why children had chores. Children had some aspect of showing that type of work ethic towards something,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, when you go out into the world, nothing is going to be really truly given to you on a silver
Exactly.
platter, on any type of thing.
Yeah.
You have to work towards it. You think you're going to get free McDonald's, which I'm I'm 1,000% against McDonald's. If y'all come across people who do love McDonald's, I'm sorry for y'all, but McDonald's K, I don't bang, but McDonald's we don't mess with. But you can't just go to McDonald's and start just asking for free food. You gonna have
Yeah,
to pay. Same
exactly.
thing with gas. I just can't go to the gas station and start filling up. I can't even get to the point to fill up because I gotta go pay.
Yeah,
There's no such thing as a courtesy
exactly.
gallon of gas.
Yeah. And it goes hand in hand. I could barely read the name, but it says, "We work hard. We have to pat ourselves on the back for all of the grinding we do." And that right there, that stated right there, is with something that I've learned in the last 10 years or so. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I share this message a lot. Is to run amok, easy. To be a piece of crap, easy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, no disrespect, just to not do anything with yourself, that's freaking easy. But at the end of the day, now, if you build your own product, your own house, brick by brick, of course, a metaphor, but still, if you build your own establishment, your own foundation, everything from the foundation up,
Yes.
at the end of the day, with that grind, you feel way more accomplished, man. Like you get to pat yourself in the back. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
It's about being accomplished. And some people see that as bad. Some people look at you and like, oh, you're a hypocrite. You're trying to be something that you're not. No, it's not that. It's you're striving to be better
Yes.
in the process of having a ton of imperfections. And that's
Yes.
okay. That's the hard part. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on one.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
that's great. Because again, with this type of stuff, we're actually talking about not even necessarily cures, but these are ways to look at trying to break that mode of just
yeah,
the idea of killed or be killed
exactly.
and learning how to harness that. And it's because of the fact that, again, we're not connected to family, connected to community.
Exactly.
We don't, appreciate the art of work,
Yeah.
and we don't actually take the time to build on ourselves. We're going to just allow to let that survival program
Hmm.
continue to run amok without being unchecked.
Exactly.
Just like why? Because just it is, had just said, a purposeful person. Because guess what? For you to find your purpose, you have to purposefully go out
Hmm.
and do something. When we talk about doing something on purpose, that's an intention. You have to do something.
Hmm.
Accidents can happen, of course, but when you set your mind to do something with a purpose, you are going to purposefully find what your purpose is. That
Exactly.
goes back to us talking about the why. So why do you do what you do? If you decided to just give up on your why, like you said, it's going to be extremely easy.
Hmm.
But when you give up on that why, what you also give up is not only your growth, but you also give up, for me, you give up the privilege. I'm not going to go to the right, but you give up the privilege to complain. You give up
Mm.
the privilege to end up saying, why is
Yeah.
nothing changing for me?
Yeah.
You know why.
Yeah.
You are in a state of ignorance, which is, again, the ability to ignore. You
Hmm.
know what you need to do,
Yeah.
but you're deciding that I'm just not going to do any of this. Why does everything always bad happen? And that's where you get into the negative thinking. That's where you get into all the thoughts of a multitude of different things that leads
Yeah.
down to, again, the mentality of, is this all worth it? Am I going to be
Hmm.
killed? All of this necessary stuff that isn't
Exactly.
beneficial as a person.
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
I'm
And
going off of you, man. So that's us. We building it
that's
right
us.
right now.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I'm pressed. I'm gonna call it a night here in a bit, brother. But
It's
before
fine.
I do, and I'm sorry about that, but thank you for having me on. But before I do, I want to say that yeah, kill or be killed. It's like everything that you just explained, everything that I just explained. I feel like it doesn't. It's necessary. It's essential. You know what I'm saying? Don't
Yes.
focus on the non-essential, because what's essential, even though it's harder to deal with, it's what's going to actually get you to survive in the event of things just dwindling down. And I'm not talking about yourself, but everything around
Yes.
you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I don't want to be prophetic, and I hope I'm wrong with what I'm going to say, but as history has repeated itself, I think that's right around the corner where we have to be in survival mode.
Yeah.
We have to work. You know what I'm saying? Who was it? I want to say it was Tech Nine has a verse where, or song where, so he says something like, I gotta eat like I haven't been paid yet. You know what I'm saying? I gotta eat like I haven't been paid yet. I gotta,
Andre
I gotta,
has a verse on that too.
yeah, yeah. I gotta, perform as if I only have one fan and I'm trying to rock an arena. You know what I mean?
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
so I'm doing this like I ain't been paid. It's called Like I Ain't. That's the name of the song. You know?
Yeah. If
Um,
you let me see. I'm trying to. I was literally because I was trying to. I know it's off of one of the Outkast albums because I was just saw it. Shouts out to
Andre,
Ludacris. Ludacris
Andre says the
was
same
speaking
thing.
about it.
Yeah.
Andre has some lines in. I forgot what particular songs,
Mhm.
but is basically it's to the the summarize of it is if you don't move to the beat, we don't eat.
Yeah, exactly.
And then again, with that movement of you moving on a beat, that's you put it in again the time, effort, and
Stay.
the art of that work and the skill to now I can't eat anything because of the fact that those fruits of the labors of people is not taking
Exactly.
it in.
Yeah, stay hungry. I mean, I've heard it somewhere else, not on a song. Someone say, you gotta eat your soup with a fork, not a spoon. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
stay hungry. And I think that's what I hope we're not, man. I really hope that conversations like these
Yes.
continue to happen and they get bigger and bigger. I mean, there's millions of podcasts. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're at over the million mark of the amount of podcasts that are out there. And I hope conversations like this keep on happening to where the movement just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and too
Yes.
big for them to even handle. You know what I'm saying? To
Yes.
where we all become our own movement.
Now
You
I
know?
remember. I remember where the verse is from.
Mm-hmm.
It is from AT Aliens, and it's on the song Elevators.
Okay.
He spits that verse on there on Elevators. I'm trying to look for the lyrics before you pop out and leave on us, brother. But again, the necessity of having that work ethic and all the again
Yeah.
these support systems in these trying
Yes.
times for people, for families, for students, for individuals is vital because if not, again, the survival mode, kill or be killed mentality will lead to, and if you're not seeing it now,
Yeah.
the breakdown of a nation and society from within
Yeah.
because of our dark history, because we did not want to treat the disease and treat the root of the situation. What did they say? They say that the chickens are coming home to roost now.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. It's being
Yeah.
turned on its head. That's why you're
Yeah.
saying everything that you thought was right is wrong, and what wrong is right is because of
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we are seeing this change, and we haven't had those folks, those people,
Exactly.
the communities. Again, it's this is how I'm gonna say it, and hopefully I'll find it. But this is what I'm gonna also ask you because you've been asking very dope questions. If y'all don't know, please go follow Santi. He has also his own podcast. This
I'm a
brother
couple
has
weeks
some great
away
questions.
from going off.
Hey, again, do what you got. I'm looking forward to it. But
Yeah.
the
Thank you.
question I have for you is when you begin to either grow, plant, flower, or you look out within nature, where do things or how do things grow?
On the ground.
Does
You
it
know what I'm
start?
saying?
Go for it.
Watered. You have to water. You have to
Do
dig.
we?
You have to get your hands dirty, bro.
Ex-
You have to dig. You have to get your hands dirty. You know what I'm saying? It's not just, it doesn't manifest. It's not going to manifest on its own. You have to actually grab the shovel, actually dig your hands in there, probably even. You know what I'm saying? Find the right spot.
yes.
Yeah.
What you are trying to get to? What is our goal? How should we be set up? If they ask us to start again, how does it look? Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the ways I was going with it too. But at the same time, going back to the concept of what we were getting and alluding to is that inner work, that self work.
Mhm.
Everything starts from within. Plants do not bust a Benjamin Button.
Mm-mm.
They do not start off at their peak and then descend all the way back down. They
Yep.
started from the bottom,
Mhm.
then make their peak,
Got to
be fruitful,
plant.
and then again they go back. And so they also follow a life cycle.
Yeah, and you got to plant the right seed, bro. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Plant the right seed. And before I leave, did you find those lyrics?
Yes. So we make sure on
Then
this
I
one step in the
have one
way.
more thing to say.
Okay, average man. All right, yeah. So Andre 3000, he's verse 4. So I'm gonna read his whole verse,
Okay.
but to the part. So whole verse. This is on elevators for y'all. If y'all saying elevators, me and you. It says, got stopped at a mall the other day. Heard a call from the other way that I just came from. Some ends want to say something, talking about smoke something. Hey man, you remember me from school? Nah, not really. But he kept smiling like a clown, facial expression looking silly. And he kept asking me, what kind of car you drive? You know you paid. I know you got, be cup hoes like all the women. From all them songs that y'all done made. And I replied that I haven't been going through the same things that he has. True, I got more fans than the average man, but not enough to loot to me to last me to the end of the week. I live by the beat like you live by the check to check. If you don't move your feet, then I don't eat. So we're like neck to neck. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we've done come a long way like them slim cigarettes from Virginia. This ain't gonna stop, so we just gonna continue. So I know I butchered it, but basically, like it says, I live by the beat like you live check to check.
Check.
If you
Yeah.
don't move your
Yeah.
feet, then I don't eat. So it's like we're neck to neck.
Exactly. That's beautiful. And what I wanted to say, but before I leave, is what got me on here is you sharing that story about the student,
Yes.
right? And I mean, it's very relatable for me with my daughter being as hyperactive as she is and all of that, and she's not, I feel like every kid has their own age of accountability. I'm
Yes.
not sure if she's there yet. But that being said, just as something as small of a school, just as they promote the upcoming events, I'm not saying I mean, it's a case by case basis. I'm sure every school is different, but
Yeah.
just as they promote that, as they promote the parent conferences and all that, I mean, those resources, the seed of those resources that are available need to be planted more frequently, just as frequently as those other things, not just for 1 month,
Yes.
not just for drug awareness month. You know what I mean? It has to be year round, 24/7, I feel like, and they have to be accessible.
Embedded in the culture.
Yes.
And I'll say this so then I'll let you go, and I appreciate you being. And I'm
I
gonna get to
appreciate
the
you, brother.
last. Be the last topic for y'all. We're gonna get to the last one. This is where, even for myself, going through education and learning more about not only getting within myself and for some people the benefits of therapy and having someone to speak a lot of this stuff out to, and then me being a counselor.
Yeah.
I've these last, at least especially last year coming into the second year, i've I've seen a resurgence of students redefining what counseling was, because beforehand I had a lot of pushback from a lot of students not wanting to go to counseling at all, because
Yeah.
I remember my prior counselor, when I told them this, oh, I ended up having CPS at my door. Or when I talked to them about this, it didn't seem like it helped or done anything. And it's
Mhm.
counseling's only for people who have problems and they have to do something. So like, nah, I don't need it. I'm good. I don't need no help. And for me, the philosophy that I've adopted when, or at least I use when coming to counseling, is These are the things that I do have. These are the resources and stuff that I supply. But at the end of the day, I'm not forcing you to do anything. Even if you have a quote unquote IEP, or parents are saying or forcing you to go to counseling because they signed you up and things like that, we can start here.
Yeah.
You can come in, be here with me 5 minutes. You don't even have to speak to me. I have toys here. I have other things and means, and
Exactly.
we can go from there. If this is extremely painful for you, I will leave you alone. If it's extremely boring for you, then I will leave you alone. But if it's painless, you're like, oh, this is not
Yeah.
exactly what I thought counseling would look like,
Mm-hmm.
then we can continue. I can get into what your interests are. I can get into letting you know what confidentiality is, so you don't feel like I'm going to cheat you. It's just
Exactly.
it's the way and means that I've went about being upfront and truthful to the students, is to a point now that my caseload is definitely extremely
Yeah.
over, but a lot of the kids now understand what my role is. But at the same time, a lot of them now are not afraid to
Yeah.
have those difficult conversations. Tell me, Mr. Calvin, I actually do need a therapist because last night I started cutting myself. They're not afraid to that because they know now that I have the resources in hands to get them where they want, and it's because I care, and it's the safety.
Exactly.
So I don't force it, and then the kids want to come back, and majority of them, because they want to get out of class and other stuff. But some of them really truly want to be like, Mr. Calvin, I want to work on my anger. I want to understand why I'm having difficulties being able to focus in class. I want to know why, the people that I'm choosing as my friends is not helping me grow as a person. And like, again, these are middle school kids, which again, for me, it's profound to hear from them, but at the same time, they have to say, I have to put on this face, because if I'm seen as weak, people are going to take advantage of me being weak. They're going to test me. So I have to put this face on, Mr. Calvin, but when I come here, I can at least let some of that out so I could understand it.
Exactly. It's all about the approach, right?
Yes.
And that's a way more successful approach. And I feel like everything around us, if we all had that approach with life, not just with our jobs, things would be a little different. I don't know if they'd be a lot better, but they'd definitely be different,
It's
And
a balanced approach. There's a
exactly.
point where you have to show accountability for your actions. So sometimes I get on the kids, I give them the in between. Like, some of them talk about relationships and they're doing bad in class. I'll start off by, of
Yeah.
course, still walking them through and they're understanding why they feel about a certain way with the relationships. But the adult inside of me pops out and I'm like, all right, but the adult in me says, y'all shouldn't even be worrying about relationships at your age. Y'all should be worrying about the school and everything else. And
Yeah.
they'll laugh about it because they understand and they get it. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I guide, I counsel. I don't give straight out answers. Some kids don't like that, but at the same time, now they start to get, okay, why you make us and you show us the options, and it's up to us to
Yeah.
make, those choices, because at the end of the day, whose life are we living?
Absolutely. You're right. No, I mean, if we all approach things in that manner, it'd be phenomenal. Whether it's with your religious belief,
Yeah.
whether if it's your opinion on something, it'd be phenomenal. I mean, I have a very, very similar approach in work. You know what I mean? And they call it's funny at work. They call it the Santi kind of way. My boss is, oh, hey, can you explain this in a Santi kind of way? You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it makes sense, and I feel like you and I are very similar when it comes down to that. But yeah, thank you, brother.
Likewise, I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
so
Thank
much. I'm
you.
sending
I wish
you
I could stay on longer. Daughter's still awake. I'm gonna try to get her to bed. But thank you, and you already know we'll stay in touch. I'll have you on as soon as I get this up and running, and the countdown has begun.
do what you gotta do, because my countdown is getting done for this too. This is the final season, so December
I'm
27th, y'all. December
okay.
27th is the last episode. That should be episode 23, and it's going to be a fully loaded one. We're going to do what the topics are, as well as I'm going to look back on all the 4 seasons of What's the Word, and I have some little fun in between facts for people and stuff on there. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
because it's about time that now that the conversations have been had, that we graduate these conversations to becoming commonplace.
Mm, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure
Yes.
from between now, you're doing it every couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, sometimes I take a break.
Yeah.
To be truthful with you, like I overdo myself, and sometimes I'm like, all right, we need to take a break.
Yeah. Feel
But
that. I feel that.
I should be back on next week for the
Okay.
next one. But yes,
Yeah. Yeah. I'll try to hop on one of these days once again, brother. And I appreciate you always giving that open invite.
it is. It's here. We got to
All
build.
right.
The only way we're gonna understand is if we there building together as a community. Shouts out to my brother, Faze, who's in here right now. He talks about having builders, so we got to have builders to create.
There we go. The art of labor, art
The
of
art
work.
of work.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
All right, brother. Well, hey, have a good night, man. Thank you once again.
Likewise.
All right,
Peace.
brother.
I think this is a great and perfect segue into the last topic for tonight, which, again, it really flowed all together with everything else that we were talking about earlier. But for the last topic for tonight, many of you are still welcome to come in. We're going to talk about, does survival of the fittest apply in modern times? And let y'all think about that, but I'm going to speak as y'all are thinking about that. So we're talking about it prior to what Kill or Be Killed. For those who are new or still don't know what happens and goes on with What's the Word, I make these topics purposefully. And there's a reason why they tie well with each other. And it's because of the fact that when making these topics and coming up with these ideas, a lot of things that we think, feel, are unaware that are separate things, they are actually much closer to home and much more connected than we think. So I do this on purpose because of the fact that they're fully connected, even if it's one word, two words, etc. So does survival of the fittest apply in modern times? 1,000%, a million, bajillion, any other alien word that I can come up with, wholeheartedly. And the reason why is what we were speaking about earlier. Many of us are still running on the fight, flight, freeze, those primitive and those primordial senses and makings of our body and our nature. And because we've also been accustomed to not only the hustle culture, but the get it how you get it culture, the individualistic culture, the I gotta go out for the bag and do what's good for me and mine's type of culture. We pit ourselves against each other. The competition is not within self. The competition is everyone else. And to a certain extent, that type of competition is needed in various areas to help sharpen your skills. But that competition is also detrimental when it comes to your well-being and how you look about creating change for yourself. And the reason why I say that is because the comparisons, comparing yourself to others and comparing yourself to people that have either had a different life experience, a different upbringing, live in a different whole environment, and you're comparing to how they've gotten out of their situation and you're still in yours. Or it can be vice versa. It also leads to the whole idea of the crabs in the bucket, trying to pull others down after seeing someone that's trying to get out versus allowing to be that extra lever and actually helping to pull up one another together. And then again, it's because we have adopted so many different thinking processes, ideologies, and philosophies that lead us to be like, you know what? Shoot, I got the money, I got the prowess, I got the knowledge, so I'm good, but y'all on your own. There is no, we're all in this together. There is no, the we or me. It's only me and team, but we can't have a team because you ain't got the means. I got the means. And I'm not willing to share because how are you going to benefit me? How are you going to help me get better? How are you going to help me feel secure and giving up what is making me secure? And because of that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be mindful of the energy and the things that you share to people, of course, but to an extent where it goes to an extreme, where we've also spoken on the 7 deadly sins, and there's also the 7, virtuous virtues, that you become desensitized against what you naturally are attuned to, which is relationships with others. When you start to become an army of one, you end up becoming a ruler of none. And when it means a ruler of none, it's because you think you can do everything by yourself. You try to do everything by yourself, and you start to see that you're coming up short all by yourself. So because you think you're an army of one, but you're ruling none, you haven't even gotten to take the time to be able to rule and have that inner power for yourself. And I know a lot of what we're talking about is having to do a lot of introspection, a lot of looking in within self, and figuring out what is your particular needs and what can help you be successful as a person, is because that's part of the battle. It's not even half the battle, it's part of the battle. And once you are able to win and understand that part of the battle, that's where you start to look at all the other resources that are vital, utilize those resources, and be able to give back those type of resources so that there is plenty for others. Because that's the natural process of the ordered life. That's why we have the number of trees that we have. That's why we've had a number of the resources that we have be plentiful. Is because of the fact that we understood way back when, again, this is ancestor stuff, we understood the importance of the natural order and process of life. So if we were to plant trees and then reap the fruit from the trees and cut down the tree, we would take seeds from that and we would plant 1 tree or 2 more trees. Again, we reap what we sow, but at the same time, we sow it back so that we shall reap again. So that next generations can also reap the harvest of what you've planted. Because if we're not able to leave something behind, we can't speak about ideals of generational wealth. We can't speak of ideals of setting our next generations up for success. It's because of the fact that we are living in the now for ourselves and not think about living in the now for us. So being in that mindset of I understand that in some way, shape, or form, you got to do something to survive. You got to be able to have the necessities, the bare necessities. Shouts out to the Jungle Book. Got to have the bare necessities to be able to even get by, to be able to get to these points and these junctures in time to study self, to look upon and find the right community, family, and resources around you so that you can thrive and not just only survive, but yes, thrive. And it's not going to be easy because it's not meant to be easy. Survival is not easy. It's an everyday thing. If survival was as easy as we make it, we will only need to eat one time and we're satisfied. We would need to only buy one thing, never break down, and we're satisfied. We would not need to want for anything, and it will be satisfied. But guess what? That's not the natural order. Things constantly change. Things break down. Things grow. Things die. Things be renewed. Things are renewed, I should say. And they come in and out. And once you have gotten those lessons down, that's how you know that constant movement and constant growth, whether if it's 0.0.5 of a percent of growth, and that's a daily thing, you are still growing in some way, shape, or form. You're still getting better in some way, shape, or form. But when you, again, apply the survival of the fittest mentality in modern times, you leave out the community as a whole. You can have that embedded. Get yourself right so that you can help others get right. Just don't only get yourself right, peace out and leave. And when I mean peace out and leave, I'm not necessarily saying move, because there's sometimes that you're going to have to make a change of scenery for you to actually continue your growth. And it's not going to necessarily be no, ill will towards your community or the people that you've been around, but not forgetting the roots and where you came from. Giving back in some way, shape, or form. You're not obliged to. You're not required to. But what's deep inside of you, when getting there and understanding that you've gotten past out of that survival mode and you're in thriving mode, being able to have that empathy to look back and know that you were once that same kid, that same person that was going through similar struggles. Where you from? Why can't I be one of those resources to reach back? And it can be as little as donations. It can be volunteering. It can be setting up and finding people within that community already, and you're just organizing to have them go about doing so because you have the means, or because you have the knowledge, or even the technology to do so, is to be able to bring those resources to people, print it off a paper, and show them ways to get there. So it's being able to create a blueprint and a roadmap for folks, and it's not to create it as a crutch or as an accommodation that's seen in a negative way. It's more so to avoid points, days, moments, and time of a struggle that you've already overcame, having someone have to go through and relive that themselves, instead of them being able to vicariously learn that through you, so that they don't waste their money, they don't waste their time, and they don't waste their effort trying to go elsewhere. When you're like, oh, if you just go around the corner, you literally can go and pay off the checks here and you save yourself $50. And with that $50, you can put that towards more groceries, or you can actually put it towards a program for your family that can help also provide more resources for a community. Just as an example. So survival of the fittest, having that at least as a baseline of a mentality in the beginning, is fine. But refining it through time, through efforts, through the finding of resources, people, materials, building of a community, all of these concepts, that's where you re-envision how that has an impact on your life, your family's life, your community's life, and ultimately the world's life and globe. Because even though we feel like we're all disconnected, we're more connected than you really think. There's so much to be said, so much to be done, so much to be given. But if we don't give that time for ourselves to figure it out, we're not going to be able to be that giving of time for other people at all. So it's definitely very prevalent in modern times, because I'll speak on this too, and it's very prevalent for a lot of people in the U.S., UK, and areas of the world. Scammers, people who are coming in, peace and love, knows what's going on. What's the word? People who are doing all the robocalls, the spam calls. A lot of our folks is doing this from India, specifically Kolkata. Yeah, Kolkata. Yeah, Kolkata. Yeah. I'm butchering it right now, but I'll be watching my stuff. And some of these folks who are doing a lot of these scams, getting a lot of people, you know, a lot of people's money. Some of them are doing it, of course, because they have a grudge against folks in the Western world. Others are doing it because of the fact that they're in that survival mode, and it's survival of the fittest. If I can outwit you and get your money away from you, that's your fault. As well as many people do it because there's no other option for them where they're living, specifically in India. I know there's some that's also done Africa of robocalls, things of that sort. But what I'm getting to the point is that we have so much chaos. We have so much damage happening worldwide that it is having a very negative impact on how we see each other. And when we start to see each other ultimately day in and day out as the enemy, we lose sight of, in this metaphor, we lose sight of who is the true enemy, who is the ally, who is our leader at hand. And when you have people who are in a state of confusion, misdirection, as well as mentally lost, you start to see the repercussions are like we're seeing now. You're seeing that Russia's getting ready World War III because it's in retaliation to what's happening going on. I'm not saying there's always going to be conflicts, because there is. Because if we even go back again, speak about us being tribal. We're very communal people. And what I mean by people, I'm talking about just humans in general. It don't have to be black, white, Asian, Latino, Native, any one of those. We're all communal. We're going to have our differences. And guess what? That's fine to have those differences. But because we lose sight when we start to pit each other or pit things against each other, we start to lose sight of why are we even truly living and providing what we have now. And a lot of this, to be honest with y'all, is survival of the fittest. Whole mentality is for lineages and lines to continue. And the underlining thing is, for what we're doing now, each generation is supposed to be a better version of the prior generation. And if we're not setting ourselves up and we're losing the purpose of why we build countries, communities, and just places in general, is because it's supposed to be an improvement of the next generations to come, for the human race to continue to thrive, for all of our cultures to continue to grow, not to die, not to fizz out, not to be non-existent. Because there is a beauty in knowing what works. And what I mean by what works is survival of the fittest. If something that used to work isn't working anymore, we get rid of the old and we apply the new. The beauty in knowing that things need to change and upgrade helps us to lead a line to how does that help to improve the next forthcoming generations and people to be molded and built. Because at the end of the day, we want this civilization, this world, these concepts, these ideas, philosophies, thoughts, houses, whatever we have here built, we want it to be lasting. People talk about, again, legacy building. We cannot build a legacy if we don't have a legacy to leave. We cannot have a culture and a history if we keep rewriting the history. We throw out parts of the history that we don't like, that we don't think is important, and then come to find out and be confused why we don't care for history. We don't see no connections to the human and the person next to us, is because of the fact that we decide to be our own arbiters of chaos. And when we do that, what we're doing is, just like Martin Luther King said on one of his other speeches, is we are integrating our people into a burning building. We are putting ourselves in a scenario and in a case that will just lead to our destruction. So we can refine this idea of the survival of the fittest and improve upon self so that we can improve upon things, but at the same time realize that it's not only a piece of the puzzle, but it is vital, because if we do not, danged if we don't, and danged if we do. Shouts out to my brother, Foreign Santana. I see you in here, my G. What's the word? You are the creator of your own universe. God is the universe infinite, or universal infinite, Alpha, the Omega. And again, I hear you out, my G. But for you to even get there, you got to do the work. You got to put in the hours. You got to take the initiative. You got to want it. I can give you the information. I can show you the link. I can give you an experience out in the world so that you can actually understand what I'm trying to tell you. But if you don't want to take it in for yourself, make it a part of your reality. And again, I'm not trying to change your reality. I'm just bringing light to situations. If you don't want that light in your reality, I can't force you to do it. And I'm not going to do it by force, because not every time does people learn in a forceful manner. People learn it within a natural manner. It's what naturally attunes to them, what naturally flows to them. So you could have it, but if you don't want it, you're not going to have it. All that we say and we talk about can be easily put into short phrases, short sentences, and words. We allow not only words, but we allow language to be so complicated to a point that we lose sight of how to effectively create change and effectively communicate to another person, so they go the opposite way, because they ain't trying to hear what you saying, because it just sounds like Charlie Brown, blah 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 blah, and it doesn't gravitate to them. Give light to dark matter. Because we wouldn't know if it was dark matter if we didn't have a light. Again, it's hermetic principles. These are just really, again, principles of life that have been coded in different societies, stated in different ways, shapes, and forms. But we wouldn't know an opposing side if we didn't already experience the first side. I wouldn't know what hot was if I didn't understand what cold was. I wouldn't know what night was if I didn't experience what day was. And it's just not only in the ideas of duality, but knowing that your reality is a culmination or an addition, amalgamation, or a summary of all that's around you. And I'm not going to get into quantum mechanics and that, oh, we only perceive 10% because based off of the number or whatever of light that comes through our retinas. I'm not going to get into that. But you perceive your reality how you perceive your reality. And anything outside of your reality that does not fit or it does not make sense for you, you either take it or leave it. But when you start to notice that your reality is unfit, like survival of the fittest, it is unfit, that means that there is a change that is to come. And do not be afraid of that change to come. Yin yang, dark light, positive, negative, good, evil, God and Satan. All of those things intertwine there. Like I said, we speak in the dualities, but there is definitely more than just that. There is a multitude of sides and stuff. It is, again, easier to put it in these aspects, but to fully try to explain all that there is into the universe, I'm going to tell you now, it'll be extremely hard to fathom and to be able to comprehend. But in these light pieces here and there, again, you start to pick and put the full picture together. So again, does survival of the fittest apply in modern times? 1,000 million bajillion, all the illions of percentages. In my case, it is wholeheartedly yes. And it is because of the fact that how we have the system set up, how we go about looking at others and people and ways to make it in this life. That is the reason why it will continue and usher itself more and more throughout human history, throughout life. We need to start a podcast, fool. We will go viral. I'm not even worrying about going viral, but I appreciate you, brother. I'm already doing a number of different podcasts. I actually put one of mine on the back burners because I'm doing too many different things. But I don't mind chopping it up with you, my G. If you start one on your own, but I will be truthfully honest with you. I am tied on a lot of time because I do too much, but I'm always up for the convo. I'm always up for the reasonings. So I'm always down to talk, my G. Always. Yes, Chris, you are late. I am already getting towards the end. I'm about to wrap up on some stuff, but if y'all got more that y'all want to say, please put it down there in the comments so I can read it. But I am getting close to that end time to wrap up so I can put this on YouTube and then any other place that I want and get myself to bed for real. Man is placed at the perfectly imperfect centers of all dualities. What a beautiful way to state that. Oh, shouts out to one of the illest, really one of the illest before I even knew to do it. D-Ski the Ill Eagle. What's going on, my brother? Peace and love. I hope all is well with you. I'm already winding down on this topic with a love for, and again, we're getting close to the end. I'm gonna say it again for the folks. I talked about it earlier. For all those who are wondering, the final season, when is the final episode gonna be? So it is coming up in 2 months. The final episode will be December 27th. That's the last Wednesday in December. will be the final episode of What's the Word and final season finale wrap up for What's the Word Wednesday. So please make sure that y'all tune in on that live, because that's the last one. That's it. We ain't doing no more. There's no revital. There's nothing coming back. That's it. And it's going to be a fun time. We're going to make it fun. We're going to do a recap. There's a number of stuff that is going to happen, but y'all got to be there. Don't be square, because we taking you there. But yeah, no, I'm going to do all of that. But to wrap up for tonight, so I'm not going to keep y'all, and I'm starting to get goofy. So I already know it's about that time. To wrap up, when it comes to current events and being in the know of what's happening around you, it's important to take that time to do so, because proper preparation prevents poor performance. If you are able to be aware of what's happening news-wise in your city, locally, and then also what's happening globally, you can properly prepare yourself, your family members, and loved ones to be ready for the inevitable. So please pay attention to your surroundings, read between the lines, listen to some news. When it comes to kill or be killed, it goes back to the primordial, the primitive workings within us, that it is a means of survival, but at the same time, it can become a detrimental virus, because we take it to an extreme where we see everyone as our enemy and no one as our friend. And if we don't succeed in this area, we are going to fail in every other area, and we will never be anything, because of the fact that when it was do or die time, you weren't able to do, so now you die. So it's there as a foundation, but not to be taken to an extreme, and to be cultivated so that it is just not me against the world, but me understanding me to navigate the world. And then lastly, does survival of the fittest apply in modern times? Again, 1,000, million, jillion, all the illion, billions of quadrillions, wholeheartedly, yes. And the reason why is it because it has been seeped into the culture and fabric of our times. The individualism, the get the bag, the self-made, the crab in the bucket, the me against the world. It's all been embedded in there to a point that we forget about the core concepts of family, the core concepts of community, proper education, which is knowledge itself, and the art of work. And to understand that with all of that combined together, that is what will form to create and make a better version of yourself, and to be a steward to others around you. But other than that, y'all, this has been another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, Season 4, Episode 15. I appreciate everyone that stopped through to show love in the comments. Thank you, Santi, before coming in and coming on and sharing, and everybody else in the comments with the love and all the words. We will catch y'all next Wednesday for episode 16. I don't know the topic off the top of my head, but just tune in, be ready next Wednesday. If anything else comes up, I will inform y'all. Again, shouts out to all y'all that was here watching it now, as well as those who are going to watch this later. Check me out on YouTube, all other different platforms. But if you're there on YouTube, subscribe to your boy at A.D.V.I.S.S Speaks. There's more stuff that I will be speaking on. So if you want to check it out, check it out. If you're just tired of me talking, it's all good. It's all love. get what you need, and then proceed. But with that, y'all, peace and one love. Until next time, keep your pace, and we out.